Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first podcast. This is something I've been looking forward to for such a long time, and I'm so happy that today I'm able to share it with you guys finally. And with me, I have a very special guest. He calls himself a personal transformation architect, he's a life coach, he's a public speaker trainer, and a lot of other things. Please welcome Mr. Arun Kunjunny. I think I got your surname right this time.
Almost. I mean, in fact, a lot of people do get it wrong. So there's no problem.
Thank you so much, Arun. Welcome to my show. It's so nice to have you on my first podcast.
I'm also equally honored. I know it's your first podcast, so good luck with it. And I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. So, Arun, as I mentioned, you're a life coach, you're a public speaker trainer, and I think a lot of other things. Please tell us what you're doing and introduce who you are and what you're doing right now.
A lot of people have asked me what I actually do. So I keep telling them that I'm still trying to discover what I'm doing. So it is always a journey for me, never a destination. So I started off as a, let's say, member services executive, which is very similar to a customer service person. Okay. Then I went into creative writing, technical writing, corporate communication, relationship management. Even tried a stint in filmmaking also, where I was a line producer. And then eventually, two and a half years back, I realized that my strength lay in interacting with people and trying to impact their lives. And that is when I started searching, what can I do about it? I mean, I know I have the skill, so what do I do about it now? So the search eventually landed on coaching. So it was a relatively new concept for me. I've never heard about it before. So an online search happened. And then I realized that there are couple of very good coaches in India. And eventually, I zeroed in on a person called Vikram Dar. Okay. So he is one of the topmost coaches in Asia. And it's a funny story because his program was happening, the seats were all full. So okay. I was like, why does this always happen to me? I mean, each time I try to do something, some obstacle happens. Yeah. So I felt, okay, this time I should not probably, just let it go like that. So I messaged him on LinkedIn, explaining why I wanted to be a coach. Okay. And what eventually happened was he said, that's a good thing. So I'll get you a seat. And that's how the whole thing happened.
Oh, that's so nice. I didn't know about this, that you had to do a little research. That's lovely. So life coach, I think you also mentioned it was a new term for you. And I think it might be a new term for a lot of people listening. So could you just elaborate on who a life coach is, Arun?
Yeah, life coach, if you can split that term into two, life and coach. Yeah. See, obviously what happens is there are a lot of other, professionals out there, psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, a lot of people are there. Yeah. So the difference that a life coach has with all these experts is that we don't provide solutions or, we don't advise people because we believe that it is there in everybody to, come out of going through. So we believe that everybody has the potential. So there is a misconception that life coaches are mental health experts. I wouldn't rather call it that, but I would rather say that we are the people who are going to help you when you're stuck, let's say somewhere or in some situation, and you can't find a solution. So the idea is that whenever we find ourselves stuck or confused, we cannot ask certain questions which might land us upon a solution. Correct. So now the life coach steps in and starts asking these questions. And these questions are the most important at that point of time, because eventually when you start answering these questions, you will know what the solution is. So the life coach just basically steps in as, it is very similar to being a sports coach. The sports coach is not going to tell you how to play. The sports coach identifies your strengths and tells you if you play like this, probably you'll do better. So that's there is no, blatant advice there.
It's more of a guide, right? When you're stuck at some point in your life and someone guides you through it. Great.
And you keep, remember when we were speaking, you were saying that, I somehow seem to motivate you. So yeah, it's a kind of a motivating.
Yeah, that was what also. I was coming to the next point, like I just wanted to tell everyone that I've spoken to Arun for a couple of times on call and I've never met him personally, but whenever I speak to him on call, like every time I'm done with the call, I feel so motivated and I have some, I feel driven to do something, and it's such a lovely conversation every time with you, Arun. So, just tell us, how do you keep yourself motivated and how do you do it? How do you manage to be that package of energy and, just stay so motivated? Yeah.
See, one of the first things that at a very young age, somebody who was my mentor, he was an 80-year-old man. So one of the first things that I learned from is that you cannot take life for granted, you know.
Correct.
So because you, if you can make it to the next day, that itself is a big thing. So I always believe that we should live one day at a time. So I don't plan a lot ahead. I mean,
Okay.
I'll do, I mean, probably before I go to sleep, the night before, I'll think about, okay, what should I do the next day? So there are two aspects to it. One, I go to bed with a very clear goal in mind.
Okay.
And second, next day morning, when I wake up, I have something to wake up for. Now that itself is motivating.
That's so true. Like I think you mentioned it to me once that you need to have a purpose, right? In order to move forward, you need to have a purpose. And I think that's something we're all struggling with currently. Don't you think that staying at home, it's so difficult to find those small purposes to get through the day even?
I think it is partly due to the fact that majority of the people, again, I'm not trying to generalize here, but majority of the people eventually start, telling themselves or believing themselves that that job, the marriage, the kids, that's the purpose of life.
Right.
But nobody ever asks themselves, what is the purpose of my life? It is always connected with other things.
Exactly.
So probably looking into oneself would change that perspective. Now, it is not about the job, it is not about the relationship, but it is about you at the end of the day.
That's so true. I mean, we associate our purposes with the things around us rather than looking into ourselves, right? And I remember you told me about this project you took up during the beginning of the pandemic. And, just tell us what exactly it was and how was the purpose you found and how did it go for you?
Yeah, see, when I was doing the coaching aspect of it, so remember I was telling you about NLP. So now, so NLP is basically neuro-linguistic programming. So neuro, as you know, is the neurological side of it, whereas there is a physical and emotional aspects of our existence. Linguistic is the language pattern, how we communicate with others and how we communicate with ourselves. And programming is basically, working on your thoughts and how it impacts your life. So when I learned it, one of the things that I learned was there was a lot of things that we tell ourselves, which is detrimental to our progress also. We might not be aware of it, but we keep telling things like, oh, I don't think I can do this, or, it is so hard and I'm feeling so bored. So I'm feeling so bored is a common thing that people say.
Exactly.
I always feel that comes in because it is so easy to say. I mean, people generally, feel that, okay, it is one of the most convenient things to say when you have got nothing to do. Now, there are two things I have always observed with people. See, whenever you get a call, if you don't want to talk to the person, you say, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And secondly, if you feel like you can't do something, or, if there is nothing else you can do, you very easily say that you're bored. Now, both these things come from the fact that you probably haven't realized the fact that there are a lot more things than whatever you say. So the project, now coming back to the project, why I started it, the whole concept of being bored. When the lockdown started in March, I realized that, this is probably going to be something where I am going to be stuck inside. So I think 2 years back, I had done a project just casually because I do photography, as you know. So I have my DSLR and I love photographing whatever I see around.
Correct.
So I believe the core concept of working with our minds is to find beauty in everything. Now that itself is enough to charge our mind. So 2 years back, I did a project where for 30 days, I was clicking one picture from within my house.
Okay.
And the challenge was to make the picture interesting. So when the lockdown began, I thought, okay, why not try and do this again? So I started clicking one picture a day from within or around the house. So I don't go out of the house.
Okay.
So as you know, initially the lockdown was for 21 days.
Yeah.
But then just got extended and extended.
Correct.
So, but for me, the picture alone I had done before. Like I said, 30 days I'd done that project.
Yeah.
So I wanted to add an element of challenge to it. So it was more about challenging myself to an extent where I wanted to know if I am able to do it on a consistent basis.
Okay.
So I decided to add a story to the picture that I'm clicking. So the story had something to do with the lockdown or the present situation, as well as the picture that I'm clicking. So eventually what happened was this 21 days turned into 1 month, 2 months, and eventually I completed the project with 366 pictures and 366 stories that go with it.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful.
That's how it happened.
That's such a wonderful initiative. I mean, to tap into that and think about it that way, it's so innovative. I think that
Yeah,
must
thank
have
you.
really helped you stay occupied as well, right? Like you wouldn't have got bored, like you said. We often tell that, we're bored, but I think it kept you from it.
Yeah, I mean, I always call it more than that. I always feel that, I need to amuse myself. So I use the term self-amusement.
Okay.
For me, it is very important that I amuse myself because if you look at kids, they don't need, I'm not talking about the present scenario where everybody has gadgets, but back in our childhood, we had no gadgets. The only channel was Doordarshan, and that too comes, probably 1 or 2 hours in a day. So what do? We found ways to amuse ourselves. So there was something, the plants, the stones, there was something to amuse ourselves.
Exactly.
And gradually, as we grow up, we grow out of it because we feel that it is wrong to be childish. I would rather dispel that idea. You have to be childish at times because that is where your brain is working at your maximum, because the child has the most innovative ideas and the most imaginative. So
That's so
there's nothing
true.
wrong in being childish.
That's so true. I think we're often conditioned to be that way, like we're told that stop being so immature if we have a childish thought or a childish wish. So that's so beautiful. You said you used the term self-amusement. Could you elaborate a little more on that? Because it's a little like I've never heard self and amusement together. It's more about amusement parks or something like that.
Yes. See, what happens is we are also caught up in this very chaotic life of ours because there are a lot of tension, there are a lot of things that bother us. Everything bothers us. So in emotional intelligence terms, we call it triggers. So we have triggers all around. So there is no way out for us to even relax or think beyond that. So what happens is we have a lot of distractions around. I mean, all these OTT channels or whatever we have are distractions, but our mind is not really at it. We are just seeing it, then letting it go.
Correct.
But the moment we train our minds to focus on something which is in fact enjoyable, as well as giving us a sense of achievement, that there you start amusing yourself because you feel like you have done something. So again, coming back to what kids do. So if you look at them, when they play, whatever game they play, there is a sense of achievement. Even though it might look very childish, they always feel that they have achieved something. So that's, I mean, achievement doesn't have to be something very big or very applaudable. Achievement can be very self-centered also. When I say self-centered, people tend to take it very negatively. But being self-centered for your own good without really harming others is always good.
That's so true. I mean, especially in the pandemic, people have been struggling with finding things to amuse themselves. And that also it's also once again linked to the motivation part, somewhere when you're self-amused, you stay motivated. So, I mean, how do you kind of give yourself something to amuse every day? Like, people are struggling with that. So
yeah, see, and just to add on to what I was saying before, one thing that again I have realized is there is this whole viral video trend that is happening. So people want to do what others are doing suddenly. So I always used to wonder why. Then I realized that the idea was, it is not that they want to get amused. They wanted, let's say, validation from others. They are looking for likes. They're looking for shares. So they're more than the self-amusement part. They want others to feel amused, others to appreciate them. So when are we going to appreciate ourselves? Unless we appreciate ourselves, how are we going to grow? How are we going to stay sane in this chaotic situation?
Exactly.
So one of the most beautiful things that I ever saw during my travels was when I went to the Dalai Lama temple in McLeodganj in Himachal. So the monks there have a practice where for one of their tests, I believe, one monk sits down, the other monk is standing up, and he is literally pointing fingers and saying something very harshly to the other monk. And the other monk is sitting very peaceful. And there I realized that it is all about finding inner peace. It is not about looking outside. So
I mean, you're not reacting. He wasn't reacting to the other monk.
Yes. He, not even reacting. He was not even affected by it. So you react when you get affected at the end of the day. But nothing was happening. So the self-amusement is basically nothing but, probably, if I can put it correctly, it is more like something that you really need. It is like having a rain on a dry ground. That will literally make you feel like, okay, now I am feeling fertile again. And now I can grow.
Exactly.
So I believe it is very important that you need to amuse yourself, especially in this pandemic period.
That's very true. I mean, there are days when you feel low, like, especially because you're stuck at home, like it's happened to me. I feel like, oh, I'm not able to get out and do the things I used to do before. And you kind of look for distractions. You want to get distracted so that you don't think about it. But then again, you end up in that same loop. So, how do you sort of, like that low phase, how do you get out of it, Arun? Like, since you're a life coach, I'm sure you have clients and patients who come with this problem. So, yeah.
One of the first things that I always tell people is don't keep telling yourself that you're going through a low phase.
Okay.
So like, again, linguistic, what we tell ourselves will eventually happen to us most of the time.
Okay.
So if I'm telling myself that I'm feeling low, after the 10th time, I'll start feeling low anyway.
Yeah.
So that's for sure. So the most important part is to be aware of what you're saying within your mind. For example, whenever I start doing something, there is nothing in my mind which says it is going to be difficult. I'm going to say that I'm going to try. It's okay if it doesn't work, but I'm going to try. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, I remember you told me once that it's just a state of mind, right? And
yes,
like, could you elaborate on that? I want people to know more about that.
See, state of mind, when we say, because we always speak about breaking state. So in NLP, there is a technique where you stand up and you rub your hands like this. So that's about breaking state. So if you're feeling low, or if you're feeling very frustrated, just stand up. So there is something that I use called visual imagery. So I close my eyes and imagine myself doing something which I absolutely love doing. For me, it is about running through a field in rain. See, I can imagine that feeling. I can feel the rain hitting my face. So at the end of it, I feel very calm. So from the state that I was in, I broke the state. So before doing this visual imagery, I stand up and I wrap my hand and I say break state. So this is basically telling myself that, okay, I'm going to break the state and I'm going to switch into some other state. Okay. And then I imagine this visual, thing that I was speaking about. And at the end of it, trust me, you're going to feel calm. So it has to be something that you really enjoyed, not something that you saw on a movie or anything, but something that you really enjoyed. There would be something that makes you feel calm. For parents, sometimes it is being with kids. You can imagine playing with your kid, so anything.
That's once again, don't you think you're putting it on someone else rather than finding it for yourself?
Yeah, but the point is that in this situation, the exercise, you're not being with the person, you're just invoking a memory, and that is for yourself.
Okay. See, that indirectly it's for yourself.
So you're not going to be with that person, you're just invoking a memory which makes you happy. See, we can trigger happy memories and get over that low phase that you're going through.
Exactly. But you know what actually happens? I mean, I don't know if it's happened with you. Do you do it? But when you're sad or when you're low, you tend to play like sad songs, and then it gets worse. You get more low.
Trust me, I just watch happy videos in YouTube.
Yeah, and I think nowadays it's changing. People are trying to watch a comedy piece or make themselves laugh. So I think that's very important for people to know that it's just a state of mind, and you shouldn't think that you're going to be in that state for a very long time. It will pass, right?
And one of the most important things that everybody should understand is people say that life is so predictable, and death is unpredictable. I always believe it the other way around. Life is unpredictable. Death is the only thing that is predictable. That will happen at some point. So because life is so unpredictable, you just need to take it as it comes. Don't worry too much about it. Things will happen the way it is meant to happen. So if things go wrong, always believe that it is not going to be a permanent thing most of the time. You just need to have a positive mind frame to it. For example, just for the viewers, I'm a person who underwent 2 depressions, and it was a very sad phase for me. But then at that time, I realized that there is something beyond that also. So the moment you tell yourself that, okay, yes, I know it's not feeling good, and I feel like I should give up, but there is something at the other end of the spectrum also. I want to see what happens there. So that hope will drive me forward. The problem is people are focusing only on that low phase. So they don't want to, go up that hill and reach the top and look at the positive phase also. So wait for that. That you can climb.
And that's where, life coaches come in, right? Because at that low phase, you're not able to kind of picture yourself there. But as a life coach, I think.
So, Yeah, we will teach you how to climb.
That's beautiful. I mean, lovely. I mean, knowing the fact that you've undergone depression twice in your life. I mean, being a life coach yourself, I think it kind of, a client who comes to you knows that you've been through it. So you would be a better guide than someone who's just learning to, lovely, beautiful, Arun, wonderful. And please tell us what you're up to right now. And I know that you've launched your website recently, and please, tell us a little something about that.
Yeah, without taking too much of your time, because I know listeners who are watching, they're listening to this, probably they are also going to feel bored listening to a lot of things. So in short, I just launched my website because I feel that life coaching till now is literally an unknown and more of an elite thing. So my idea is to make it available to everybody. So, make it accessible to the common man, because I believe everybody needs help. And in that aspect, I would also like to point out that never feel afraid or embarrassed to ask for help, because it is very important. A lot of people feel that asking for help is a sign of weakness. I would rather say that asking for help is a sign of strength, because it takes a lot to ask for help.
I agree.
So do not hold back. Ask for help if you feel you need help. I know there would be somebody out there willing to spend their time and help you out. If nobody else is there, I am there, so you can reach out to me.
So sweet. That's very kind of you. And yeah, so what do we look forward to on your website?
Yeah, so there are a couple of aspects, like you said in the beginning. So there is life coaching, public speaking training, business English training, soft skill training. So yeah, so there is a couple of aspects. So the basic idea, that is why I keep calling myself the transformation architect. So there's every aspect that could make you, I wouldn't call it a better individual, because you are always, a good individual at the end of the day. I believe that people are always good. So the idea is to actually help you evolve a bit more, so that you stand out and you make your own mark in this world. If I can put it that way, because I believe we should never end up as mere names. We should end up as legacies. And that is what each person should be striving to do. You have started your podcast channel, so you are starting your legacy now.
That's a sweet. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's wonderful. And I'd like to tell people that, Arun's website is so beautifully put. I mean, he's offering people life coaching at a very minimal fee, and that's something I think people are struggling with currently. Even if they want that help, they kind of financially, they think about it. Oh, I can't afford this, or think, kudos to you for doing this, Arun. Thank you so much for providing a platform where people can ask help without having to think about the money aspect. So thank you so much for doing that. And I think I'll attach the link to your website below, so that, people, if you're listening to this and you are someone struggling with something, do reach out to Arun. I think as you've listened to him so far, he's such a motivating person. And thank you so much, Arun, for doing this. And do check out his photography page, because he's such a good photographer. Thank you so much, Arun, once again for doing this.
And thank you, Raksha, and also for the listeners or viewers, because I'm pretty sure you'll be putting up this video on Instagram also. Yeah. So all of you guys do check out her channel and her page in Instagram also, because I'm pretty sure, because I've known Raksha for a couple of, I think 2 or 3 weeks now. So we've been talking on and off. And I believe it's a wonderful gesture that you're doing now, because it is important that we collaborate like this, and people come to know more and more of things that they can work with. So I think that's a wonderful venture, and wish you all the best for this.
Thank you so much, Arun. Thank you so much for keeping me motivated for these 3 weeks, and thank you so much for supporting me through this, and I look forward to collaborating you in the future.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to it so far. Have a wonderful day, or have a good night's sleep if you're watching it in another country. And thank you so much for joining all of us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.